Hey, hi everyone. Welcome to your show, Coffee with Experts. This is Ranmay here. And today we have Pete, who is the Chief Operating Officer at TravelBoom Marketing. Hey, Pete, how is it going?
It's going fantastic. Thank you so much for having me on the show. I'm really excited to have our conversation today.
Great, lovely. Pete, before we move any forward, let's get to know the human behind the mic. Talk us through your journey. How were you as a child and, growing up? And also about TravelBoom in terms of what you guys specialize in, what are your core competencies, and then we take it off from there.
Yeah, sure thing. So, kind of first of all, from TravelBoom's perspective, we're a digital agency that really specializes in only work with helping independent hoteliers and property management groups succeed online. So, anything from a website to SEO to email, to social, you name it, that's kind of what we do. And what makes us a little bit unique is because we are hoteliers at heart, we're able to bridge that gap between the hotelier speak and the agency speak. So we do a really good job there. Me personally, I've been in the travel business. I've actually been in the agency side since January 3rd of the year 2000. So, I'm kind of showing my
Okay.
age a little bit, but yeah, I got to get on my 25th year here. And
Oh,
I think I've
okay.
always,
You don't look like that for sure.
I appreciate you saying that.
Talking about experience, you have it in the space, like you mentioned, for quite some time now. So, what are the biggest challenges, according to you, hotelier space when it comes to online visibility and guest acquisition? Where there is so much competition in this space, right?
Well, yeah, I think that really is the biggest challenge is what you're trying to do as a hotelier. A lot of times people don't know who you are until
Yeah.
they start that search process. So they already have a brand affinity with it might be Expedia or booking.com or
Sure.
some other OTA. So the question then becomes is how does a hotel with a single property or say a group of properties succeed online? And
Yeah.
it's difficult. There's, Google's being way more aggressive. The search results page is changing constantly. And being able to just say be on the top of a search results page organically for your brand is no longer enough for a hotel. There's meta search, there's paid side, there's local listings, there's AI answers at the top of the results. There's a lot of competition, and it makes it very challenging for hoteliers to find a way to break through all that noise and be able to stand on their own as a great choice for travel.
Absolutely. I mean, it is a crowded online marketplace there, right? So, what are some of the creative ways, Pete, that hotels can differentiate themselves and stand out to potential visitors there?
So to me, it goes back to when you think of the innkeepers of old, where you can think of a traveler who picks your property and you're not only the place where they're going to lay their head at night, you become the conduit to the place that they're staying. And I think if you're a hotel and you're trying to differentiate yourself in any given market, the trick is to say, okay, what is it? What is my unique prospect to a guest? And how can I take that and integrate it into everything that I do? A really good example is in Charleston, South Carolina, here in the States, there's a property called the Vendu, and it is known as the Charleston's Art Hotel. The way they differentiated themselves is they actually have in-house artists that
Hmm.
do paintings and different pieces of art
Okay.
in the lobby. And then every room you
Okay.
go to is completely unique with local art,
Hmm.
where the visitors and locals alike are able to come into the common areas, and they're basically in an art gallery.
Hmm.
So that works really well for them. So find, and I'm not saying everybody should become an art hotel, but like the Vendu did, find out what it is that's your passion as a hotelier or an innkeeper, and then lean
Right.
into that 110%. And if you do that, you'll naturally rise to the top of the people who identify with your property. Because let's say you have 100 rooms at your property, right? That means you have to fill 100 rooms. You don't have to appeal to everybody who's visiting a destination. You just want to be an
Yeah.
ultimate stay for someone who wants what you have.
All right. And, being 100% passionate about what you do, I mean, it is kind of, it kind of holds true for every entrepreneur, right? Whatever business that you are in.
Exactly. And you see a lot of people who try to say they're the most luxurious property in any given market. Well, if you're really not, the web is so transparent now
Yeah.
between the reviews from social proof and everything else, people are going to know. So I think if you
Yeah.
can go with the authenticity of what you're passionate about, And then make sure your website says that. Make sure your paid campaigns say that. Make sure your
Yeah.
social interactions all point back to that so that you
Right.
become the conduit for your ultimate guest throughout their entire planning and stay journey, right?
Absolutely. I mean, so because communication has become multifold, right? It's not only one medium anymore. So that
Yep.
you have to stitch together the entire story for your brand to kind of resonate with your target audiences, right? I mean, like you mentioned, it should actually speak the same language across platforms, right?
Yep.
And talking about that, uh, we have seen multiple channels of communication and branding kind of being there. But yeah, I mean, as a leader in the digital travel marketing space, what is the biggest shift that you have observed in the industry since you started?
So since I started, the internet started. So I would say
That is it all.
probably the internet. But if we want to get even more granular, when I first started, it was a lot of you're setting your rate for the year and you publish that in an actual printed thing. That has now turned into the science of revenue management where your rate is yielded based on demand and occupancy and what your targeted RevPAR is and everything like that.
Right.
Mobile was obviously a major tipping point, but I would say in the past 4 to 5 years, AI, which everybody says this, right? AI is the big disruptor again.
Right.
I don't think there's a place that's even where that's more prevalent than in the hospitality space because you're starting to be able to say, I want to achieve X occupancy at X rate and letting the tools that work behind the scenes in your revenue management platforms do the hard work of figuring out what that ideal price point is for every
Right.
single day based on the current occupancy. You have that. Obviously, you have your paid strategies that have a ton of AI behind it. You have in-room technology, you have front desk technology, and it all kind of goes to the point where you have humans who are guiding the ship, but the AI is doing so much more that if you're an
Right.
independent hotel not diving into that head first, you're going to find yourself really behind power curve immediately, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. And how do you feel, hotels and, agencies like yourself, working in hospitality space or hotel space, can leverage AI to individualize or, personalize, the guest journey, starting from pre-booking to post-stay?
So I think that's where you start going to that CDP versus the old fashioned CRM, where you're able to bring in cues of what that person's doing online, what their shopping behaviors are, and who they are specifically to get very targeted and engaged with each individual guest. One of the things that, like, a lot of times a great conversion site on a hotel is 2 to 3%. So what happens to those other 97% of the people who visit your site and leave? Well, we can bring them back if you're being smart.
Yeah.
And AI is a big component of that, is saying, okay, they visited the site, but they left, but I have their email address. Well, let's start those drip campaigns. Or,
Yeah.
they've made a booking. I noticed that they booked a unit for adult and 2 kids, but they only have a 1 room property. What can we do to upsell them to a 2 bedroom, which will make their stay better, give them a better experience, and obviously help from a revenue perspective from that hotel? So I
Absolutely.
think paying attention and letting AI create that ultra personalized journey for each guest is a huge opportunity.
Absolutely. And then you also touched upon a very important topic, I mean, it obviously matters for every business, but in hotels, it is kind of very important, which is reviews. And how do you manage, reviews for your clients? Because for me, if I am, hopping into a hotel, even in a short span of time to kind of make that decision, I will obviously go through the reviews in terms of what the people who have stayed there, folks who have stayed there kind of are talking about it.
So the fun thing about hotels, unlike e-com or lifestyle or a lot of other companies, is with a hotel, you get to have face-to-face interaction with that guest.
True.
So to me, the biggest opportunity for creating those great reviews is when somebody, before they visit, you let them know what their expectations are. While they're on the property, you exceed those expectations and you make sure you have those opportunities to identify issues that they might have so that you can correct them at the property. Some of the
Yeah.
best reviews that our hotels get are the ones from somebody who had some type of problem at the property. Good example is, let's say somebody has a leaky toilet, in their
Mhm.
room. They're going to
Yeah.
call the front desk, or you're going to be proactive and say, "Hey, how was your stay?" They say, "I had this problem." Now you go above and beyond and you say, "I can fix that for you. Not only am I going to
Yeah.
fix it, let's go ahead and move you to an upgraded room. Let me take
Mm.
care of this. Let me do this for you." So that at the end of their stay, they're like, "Oh my gosh, I had a little problem," and they went above and
Mhm.
beyond. Then what
Right.
happens is those guests are only leaving good reviews because you
Yeah.
addressed any negative feedback while they were there.
Right.
And then I think at the end of it is, during as they're checking out, you're asking for the review.
Right.
Once
I
they
was about to
left,
say that.
you're asking
Yeah.
again, right?
Yeah. So you're ensuring that, positive reviews are being,
Yeah.
kind of kept a track of, in terms of, ensuring that you get those reviews. A lot of, with customers, and with all due respect, if you get something good, you feel that, this is your right, you paid for it. Right. And,
Mhm.
and if there is
Yep.
something, which did not really happen as per your expectation, then you all go all gaga about it, in terms of writing negative reviews and all that stuff. Right. But if something good has
Yep.
happened, you feel it is your right. So it is very important to kind of, while checking out, keeping a track of the communication prior to that, and ensuring that the review of positive guest experience that they might have had, is being tracked as well.
Yep. Exactly. And if you can get to the point where, like I said, going back to the innkeepers hundreds of years from now, they were
Mhm.
doing everything they could to make you happy. That's hard to do
Yeah.
at scale with a several hundred unit location.
Right.
But if you
Yeah.
can get them to know your first name and care about you, and you've helped them, well, if you're their friend, nobody's going to leave a bad review for their friend. So I think that's the goal
Very
that you
true.
want to get as a hotelier.
Absolutely. And then, Pete, when it comes to conversion optimization, right, which is important, for the hotel industry, for every industry, but, most of the visitor coming in who are trying to make a booking in the next week, next month, whatever, like a real prospect, and the revenue transaction, happening, the opportunity being there, right? So when it comes to conversion optimization, what are some of the biggest bottlenecks you see in hotel websites, and how do you address them?
So I think you address them by first mapping out what that overall conversion funnel looks like,
Hmm.
and understanding, say, am I bringing the right people into my site or my experience to start with? And then work your way down, making sure everything is optimized. Realistically, the biggest bottleneck that they have is going to be when they typically leave the hotel's brand website and go to the booking engine. That's
Hmm.
where a lot of booking engines are still working on getting caught up to be the Amazon.com-esque conversion.
Yeah.
It's where they have those urgency messages. They have the tools that drive people through the booking process.
Yeah.
And then a lot of people, they see that rate and then they're going to leave. Not necessarily
Mhm.
because the hotel did something wrong, but just
Yeah.
because, okay, now I know I'm going to be spending, $1,000 plus on a great vacation. They're going to leave and do some shopping. So do you have those abandonment tools in place? Because this is the other
Mhm.
area where I think there's a big opportunity and a bottleneck is, if someone visits your site, you paid a lot of money to get them there, and then they
Mhm.
leave and you don't go back and say, "Hey, come back in. Let's finish this booking." That's your big bottleneck. You got to fix that part.
Absolutely. And talking about marketing, marketing is always about telling a story. So how do you help hotels, craft compelling narratives that resonate with their target audience, and, eventually drive bookings?
Yep. So I think that's where we kind of go back to, my story of the Vindu in Charleston, South Carolina, is, if you, in their case, if your story is, we love art, we love the expression, that
Right.
needs to extend to your website, that needs to extend to your social channels and all your communications. Where people have a problem, and I think this probably goes to the bottleneck also as well, is if you say my hotel is all about art and your
Mhm.
email is a standard, you know, MailChimp message that does not match that message,
Yeah.
your social channel doesn't match it, people realize that, wait a minute, this person might be phoning it in. I don't know if I'm actually going to get the experience that they're promising on their site. So making
Mhm.
sure that's all aligned is really
Yeah.
how you have to tell that story. Each platform's different, right? If you have let's say you have a social media influencer come
Mhm.
in their case, you want to have a social media influencer who is a true art aficionado. You don't want to have somebody who's coming in that's just a hotel blogger. You find those places of authenticity and then just push that button as much as you can.
Right. Talking about client speed, give us your favorite client story.
Oh gosh, favorite client story. That's a good one. So years ago, we were much more into the golf business as well. And, we had one client who, ran a major golf organization with dozens of courses, golf courses. And his name was Jim Woodring. He was in the Myrtle Beach area. He's on the Myrtle Beach Golf Hall of Fame. He's a kind of a legend in the community. And luckily, I was able to work with him for dozens of years. And it was one of those things where the client is so educated on the subject that I feel like I was getting a university degree after every meeting. And it kind of helped you say, hey, are you uncovering the hidden detail behind the stat, let's say? So if the report says, you're up 10%, a lot of people say, oh, that's great. He would slice and dice that to say, okay, well, why is that good? Shouldn't have been 20%. Let's dig into that. And then what would happen is you end up with this amazing growth and amazing performance for your campaign because he did such a wonderful job pushing you to get to the next level. So yeah, I think I've had a lot of funny client stories for sure. But that's probably one of the ones that really helped me be the best, hotel marketer and, travel marketer there is. We do have one where years ago, we were working on an email database for our send, and the client brought us a Jazz drive with their current email addresses on it. And we're like, a Jazz drive? I don't know if you remember what those were, but it's like a giant big floppy disk that hasn't been used in dozens of years. I'm like, I guarantee you, this is your email database. We do not need to be sending to these emails because they have not opted in. Because you probably got sometime in the late 90s. So yeah, there's a lot of little funny stories like that for sure.
I'm sure 20 years, 25 years, a lot of kind stories. Lovely. Agreed, Pete. This has been a brilliant conversation. But before we finally let you go, I would like to play a quick rapid fire with you. I hope you are game for it.
Yeah, let's see what happens.
All right. Your last Google search.
Last Google search. Oh, you know what? I'd have to look at that. Oh, actually, I know what it is. I had to find Udio, which is the AI music generation platform, because we're working on redoing our podcast, and we decided we want to have AI intro music. So I had to Google that.
All right. Lovely. Your last vacation.
Last vacation, we actually just got back from Lake Hartwell in upstate South Carolina. Like I think we got back about 2 weeks ago.
Okay. Where do we find Pete on Friday evenings after office?
Friday evenings after office, well, my house backs up to a golf course. So I'll either be out there swinging the clubs, or more often than not, I might just be hanging out in the pool with a cold beverage in my hand.
Lovely. Good. I will not grill you any further, Pete. You have been a sport. Thank you so much once again for taking out time to do this with us. I really appreciate it, man. Cheers.
That was very fun. I really appreciate the opportunity and hope everybody has an awesome day.
Sure. Thank you.